Hey you guys, today I wanted to talk about my name, Gym Warrior, and what that means. Because you might be, coming to my channel and thinking, Gym Warrior, what the hell is that? Well, I have some notes here, so if I keep looking over, that's what it is, to try to help myself stay on point. Because God knows I love to ramble and jump all over. I probably still will, so bear with me. But, Gym Warrior, obviously warrior is pretty self-explanatory. Gem means two things, really. Gem are my initials, Jake Edward Morgan. But gem also refers to, obviously, like gems, like gemstones, which I work with a lot in my practice, not physically, but spiritually, which I talked about in another video that I have, which is definitely a ramble, but I touched on it a little bit. I'll try and put the link below. But yeah, gems have been extremely important on my journey, and I know on a lot of everyone's journeys. Gems are a huge part of the New Thought movement, New Age movement, paganism, etc., etc. So I know a lot of us really love gems. And then warrior, like I said, pretty self-explanatory, right? We all know what a warrior is, or do we? I was drawn to the warrior path, which is definitely a part of my practice, being a warrior. Like, that mentality, it's this is kind of cliche to say, but it's kind of a lifestyle for me at this point. It's a mindset, being a warrior, like a magical warrior, spiritual warrior. I was drawn to the idea of warriors and being a warrior because of my life experiences. Growing up, I was a really, really, really shy, introverted, quiet child. Most of the time. I mean, there are no absolute truths, right? But I was taught to be very, very polite and quiet and withdrawn, to not share, which was, good and bad. Like I said, some of it was taught to me, but some of it was definitely learned behavior. My mother in particular is very, very, very quiet and very apologetic in every aspect of her life. It was not really encouraged for us to really stand up for ourselves as children, me and my brother and sister. It was very much just let someone, not really walk all over you, but let someone kind of get out what they need to get out, and you just sit there and take it, and then let them go on. You sit there and you kind of hide until they're done, and then they walk off, right? But don't engage them back, because they'll slaughter you. Like, you can't handle it. We were very much told to just run and hide. We were taught to kind of be like like rabbits, like small rodents or something, which was a very, very big totem family for me as a child. And I only later understood why I loved mice and guinea pigs and rabbits so much. And it was because they were so timid, and we were raised to be so timid, and I was so timid. So it wasn't until, I became a teenager and the angst set in that I started, you start to question everything, like, who am I? Why do I do this and that, and like, I don't like these behaviors, and like, I'm going to choose my own stuff, find my own way. And that's kind of when I started to flirt with the warrior ideas. Looking at books and movies and stuff like that. You always see the hero character, and you're supposed to, like, identify with this character and feel for them and go on this journey with them. But I never did that. I never did that. I never put myself in their shoes. I remember watching the original Star Wars, and seeing Luke and even Leia and all these people who were not afraid to go out there. Well, maybe afraid, but that's an extension of this conversation. They were brave and courageous, and they went out there and they fought for what they believed was right, which was to rebel against this corrupt government. And I never saw myself as that. I remember seeing that movie, the original, and thinking, wow, that's not me. That's not me. I remember seeing other movies and thinking, oh, I could never do that. I always identified more with like the comedic relief character who was always getting into trouble and needed to be, rescued and saved. Which more often than not was the female character, but don't get me started. But yeah, I don't think the warrior path chose me. I definitely chose the warrior path because I got to a point where, especially once I entered the workforce after high school, people walk all over you. People will do to you whatever you let them. You teach people how to handle you and how to respect you and how to talk to you. You do, by default or not. You let people know what's okay and what's not okay. Just okay. I said that's so weird. Just by your actions. You teach people how to treat you. And, after being burned a lot by a lot of people and not understanding why and being so sad and not understanding why everyone was being so mean to me all the time and, like, getting my feelings hurt a lot, basically, I finally was like, alright, F this. I've got to do something. So, I subconsciously really started looking into warriors and working with warrior spirits and deities and stuff, and started to incorporate what it meant for me to be a warrior into my path. I started trying to stand up for myself and speak my truth, even if people in the room didn't agree with me, like sticking to my guns, developing a backbone. Which was really, really hard. And, it's a work in progress. I'll always be trying to build that backbone. As I think pretty much everything is that we try to do. Whether we're trying to soften ourselves or harden ourselves. That's an ongoing process. I think when you tell people, oh, I'm interested in warriors, or I love soldiers, or knights, and I like war and battles and things like that. I think people could take it the wrong way and think you're a little psychotic. But I think that's because we have an incorrect definition of what war means and what a warrior means. I think a warrior, a true warrior isn't this sloppy, angry, sadistic, like serial killer or angry person. It's not the guy who goes out and beats his wife. It's not the guy who walks all over people and is the strongest guy in the room, the big one, so he's some bully. That's not a warrior. But a warrior's not the passive, shy, people pleaser either. A warrior is not a people pleaser. But a warrior's not a bully either. I think, we all know about a little bit about knights at least, right? And the whole like code of chivalry. 'Cause people are, anytime someone does something polite for someone else, especially if it's a guy doing something nice for a girl, people always say, oh, chivalry's not dead. Actually, I hate that. I hate when people say that, actually. But, I think that gives you an idea of what chivalry is, even if you have never looked into chivalry and knighthood and this kind of stuff, chivalry is supposed to be manners, basically, having some damn manners, which a lot of people don't these days, it seems. You know, like, it's up to the individual to define their own code of chivalry, the code of ethics and morals. We all find out for ourselves what is right and what is wrong and what's appropriate for us and what we want to accept and what we don't want to accept. But, you know, most people can agree on, you know, truth and politeness. Don't be freaking rude to people. And also, tell the truth. Nobody likes liars. Okay? Nobody likes to be lied to. And hopefully, not everybody likes to lie because it makes you feel like crap afterwards. You know, I think a true warrior strives to live ethically. Not just every day, but every moment. And, you know, that's not easy. That's so much easier said than done. Come on now. But a warrior really strives, I think, to be their best self. To, you know, never fall into stagnation, I think. I think a true warrior is always moving. I think a true warrior never rests because, I'm speaking metaphorically here, but, you know, war never rests, right? The highs and lows in our lives, the darkness in our lives, the negativity in our lives, that never stops, so we can't stop. So true warrior is always moving, and I think the moment, you know, we find ourselves in stagnation, which happens, we all do it. I'm recently coming out of some stagnation. The minute a warrior finds himself in stagnation, they take the steps to move past that stagnation. And I think the way you learn the steps to move past stagnation varies from person to person to person. But the more you get to know yourself, the more you learn what motivates you and what doesn't motivate you and what you like and dislike. It's all about learning your likes and dislikes, you know? Learning about your light side and your dark side. Getting to know yourself. Because a true warrior, I think, is always analyzing themselves. Always unfurling more parts of themselves. Even the stuff that most of us, I think, will be too scared to go into or admit. Like our dark sides. I think a true warrior incorporates the shadow self into themselves, right? Because war's not pretty. Again, speaking metaphorically. Like, negativity in our lives, kind of, is what I mean when I say war. The bad crap and the bad people. War is dark. It isn't pretty. And as a result, you know, we can't always be our prettiest, bestest, shiniest selves. Like, that's just not realistic. A warrior's not always some angel. A warrior walks that fine line between the two selves. Right? And you know, I think there's this misconception that warriors are, like, sadistic or maybe even masochistic. Like, again, like I said before, bullies are not warriors, okay? Like, I hate to bring politics into this, but, you know, like the Islamic State and things like that we're seeing right now, those aren't warriors. No, that's not warriors. Although you could argue that some of our own troops are not warriors either. A true warrior doesn't go out and attack other people. A true warrior defends themselves and defends those around them. Right? Their family, their friends, their community, the people that they've accepted as a part of their tribe. A warrior doesn't go out and attack weaker people or people that don't agree with them. That's not the way of the warrior. True warriors value peace and want peace. Warriors do not create war. They respond to war. Okay? And I think a true warrior has a big level of discernment. You know that term, pick your battles? Like, you better pick your battles. Like, you know, kind of saying, be cautious with what you decide to fight about. Are you going to address this person for cussing you out or calling you some name? Is it worth it? What are going to be the ramifications of this? Discernment. Picking what's important and what's not important. What should you just let go? And then what things should you truly stand up for? Discernment. And I think that comes with experience. We all have to probably fight several battles that aren't worth fighting and lose, or win and not feel good afterwards, to kind of figure out again, learning more about yourself. What's important and what's not important. What's worth fighting for and what's worth just letting go. I think when people say warrior now, they just think soldier. And they think soldiers, and like they think of like, our military, our militaries. And I'm not saying that I don't like our military. I totally support our military, the world's militaries, and I totally understand why they're there. We need them. They are important. I know several people that are in the military, and I mean no disrespect to them when I say this. But being a soldier is not the same thing as being a warrior. Okay? Yes, some of our soldiers are warriors, but being a soldier does not make you a warrior. Not in the sense that I'm speaking of, which is spiritual warrior. An internal warrior. A soldier is trained to follow orders and to respect authority, and to kind of subjugate their thinking to a higher command. A soldier is kind of taught to subscribe to someone else's truths, and to me, that's not what a warrior is. A warrior is like autonomous and I had a good note about this. And independent. Warriors engage in battle, spiritual battle, in war, out of personal choice, not out of obedience. Okay? A warrior is capable of making moral judgments, again with a discernment, They don't just respond to violence, to negativity. They analyze the situation first, discern if it's worth it, and then they act accordingly. Warriors are flexible and adaptable in their fight against war, right? We can't just go through life with the same 4 tricks up our sleeves on how to deal with, crappy people and crappy events and situations. Because there's not just one small set of truths to all of your problems. There's not just 1 or 2 ways to deal with things. I mean, sometimes we really go through things on the flying off the seat of our pants, we don't know what we're doing. Because the things that maybe worked in the past for you aren't always going to work. I hope that makes sense. I think a true warrior is always training. We're always bettering ourselves. We're always trying to get to the core of ourselves and to let that core shine, A true warrior doesn't hide their core self. And I think as people, we're taught to hide our core self because we want to protect it and we're afraid it's so fragile and that it'll get damaged. True warriors wear their heart on their sleeve. True warriors push their core to the front and are completely visible for anyone to see. There's no secrets with a warrior. They're completely authentic and visible. Warriors do not hide. And warriors do not deceive people. A true warrior is honest and visible. And open. Completely open. To everything. To learning and to hearing. And to teaching and to everything. I think being a warrior doesn't mean just sticking up for yourself. It's knowing when to maybe stick up for other people who can't stick up for themselves, right? Like young people, like really, like children who can't defend themselves. But also other people, like adults, the elderly, everything. Even just people your own age. Knowing when, again, there's so much discernment in the path of the warrior. But, knowing when to step in and help out your friend. Knowing when your friend is losing a battle. Be that battle, through addiction, through hard times with money, losing a family member, or actually being bullied by someone in real life. No matter what kind of wars we have to go through in our lives, a true warrior offers their help to people who need it. Not in an overbearing way, not in a let me take over your life and fix your problems kind of way, and not in an arrogant way. A true warrior is humble and offers only assistance, not anything else. Just offers help. Doesn't push their help on anyone. I made these notes and I'm not really using them. That's actually a good note. Warriors do not punish themselves for their failures. Being a warrior, it's not all about going out and fixing all your problems and winning every battle and telling him or her off or anything like that. A true warrior isn't about being victorious. It's not about victory at the end of the day. That's not why you choose to go out and consciously fight your battles. It's not about victory. And when you do lose, because we don't win everything in our lives. If we did, then we wouldn't grow as people. Sometimes we do lose. Sometimes that person does bring us down. Sometimes we do lose our homes, or lose loved ones, or get told off. Sometimes our shadows are exposed to us. Sometimes we lie, sometimes we cheat, sometimes we steal. And a true warrior doesn't punish themselves for that. That's not to say that you accept that you did those things and be like, oh, it's okay. No. But a true warrior isn't going to dwell and punish themselves. Again, going back to warriors are not sadists or masochists. A true warrior understands the meaning of forgiveness. And, that kind of brings me to the next point, that there are no failures. Okay? There is no such thing as a failure. I have a quote about this, actually. When a warrior falls in battle without surrendering or giving up, his spirit grows stronger. When a warrior survives the battle without surrendering or giving up, his spirit grows stronger. And I think that's true. I mean, how many things have you been through in your life that you thought, God, I'm not going to make it through this. This is just too much crap. This is awful. I'm the victim. But then you do get through it, and maybe years later, you realize, God, I am better because of that experience. I am better because of that experience. For example, when it's kind of convoluted. I'll try to simplify this, actually, because I'm a talker. But when I was younger, after high school, I had a really rocky living situation. I was homeless for part of my teenage years and a little bit after high school. And I met two friends. They were the brother / and girlfriend of a friend of mine. They were her brother and his girlfriend. And they asked me to move in with them. And I said yes, and we moved in together. And at that time, I was still very shy, very quiet, like people walk all over me. I paid most of the bills there. And then they wound up kicking me out when I lost my job, which was totally not fair. That was also a defeat in itself. So I went from finally having a home and a job to having neither. And that was horrible. And at the time I was really mad at them. I thought it was completely unfair. I thought I was totally in the right because I was paying for everything. Here I was taking charge and, trying to help them out because they weren't in a financial situation to pay for our house. And I thought it was really unfair. Really unfair. And, I lost my job. I'd actually gotten fired after taking a vacation. It was awful. And I thought that wasn't fair. I'm entitled to vacation. I used company vacation time. It was awful. It was awful. But I was mad about that for a long time. And it wasn't until a year or two, maybe 3 years later, when I finally got back on my feet again and stable, that I realized, holy crap, I totally needed that. Those people were really poisonous and were just using me. And that job was full of really, really bad people that were making me feel really bad about just me being myself, specifically being gay. And I needed both of those influences taken out of my life, and I wasn't going to remove myself from those situations. So, Morgan, love her, and Odin, love him, really had to step in and remove me from that. Odin and Morgan, more than Morgan, are my deities that I work with the most, so that's what that means. But, and both, obviously deities of war, so. But, which was subconscious completely when they came to me, but that's another topic. But yes, if they wouldn't have removed me from that, then who knows how long I would have stayed there. But yeah, because of that, I got stronger. Because of that, I got started on the path of the warrior, and that was one of the first steps in me learning to stick up for myself. That was one of the first lessons of discernment for me in terms of reading people and not always saying yes to everything that comes right your way, and not necessarily giving your full self and trust to every single person that enters your life. Not everyone has your best intentions in mind, okay? They don't. But yeah, forever I saw that as a failure, and it wasn't a failure. I didn't fail there. I was, I lost the battle, but I won so much internally. I learned from that experience, so really I won. I think being a warrior isn't being numb or cynical either. It's not saying, yeah, I've been through a lot of crap and it doesn't affect me anymore because life's just crap and you're just gonna have to get used to it. Just suck it up, buttercup. Like, that's not a warrior mentality. Warriors are not numb. We're emotional creatures. We have, or at least we think we have, right? The biggest, most vast range of emotions is from any other creature on the planet. We are ruled by our emotions, whether we like to admit it or not. And when we start to numb certain emotions, the other emotions kind of just get out of whack, right? If we try to numb ourselves to anger, we become overtly joyous, and it's not natural, and it drives people away because we seem fake. If we numb ourselves to happiness, we become cynical and jaded and no fun to be around. We become very destructive people, very poisonous people. And a true warrior embraces all of their emotions. Again, good and bad, the light and the dark. A true warrior embraces everything about themselves. They don't deny anything. Anything. As spiritual warriors, we can define that as our appearances, our likes and dislikes, our secret fantasies, and every part of ourselves. We accept ourselves. Warriors accept themselves. And as a result, have more empathy and sympathy for those around them, even their enemies. A true warrior, I think, does not fall into the trap of hate against their enemy. And enemy is a strong word to use, but, I mean, I think if we're being honest, we all have people that we don't like. You just don't like them. You don't like having them around in your life. You don't like being around them. It could be a coworker. It could be a family member. It could be a friend that for some reason you still have around. But it could be even places and situations. But we all have something that we just don't like. And I think that a true warrior doesn't fall into the trap of hating that person or place. You don't put all of your negative energy into that person, like, oh, God, I just hate them. Like, just get away from me, or, God, I don't want to talk to her, and, like, blah, 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 blah. I think a true warrior, again, discernment, but a true warrior knows when to just remove themselves from a person or place. Politely and respectfully. And I think a true warrior... you guys, my video cut out. But I'm not re-recording all that, so we're just going to keep going. Okay? So, as I was saying, what was I saying? Oh, a true warrior has empathy and sympathy for their enemy. Yeah, I think a true warrior knows when and where their enemy is coming from. They understand why they are doing the thing they do. They have compassion for that person. They understand, or at least kind of sympathize with where this person is coming from and why this person is behaving the way they are. And a lot of times I think the reason we don't like people is because they are representations of our own shadows. Usually you don't like a person who's snobby. You're like, oh, I just hate all snobby people. Like immediately when I see someone being snobby, I don't like them. Well, I mean, maybe it's because you're a little snobby. I'm just saying. Like, I know that's been true for me. Whenever I see someone who is overly confident, I get really mad at them. And it's because I kind of want to destroy my own confidence. And so in return, I kind of just want to destroy theirs. I'm like, that's not fair. I'm not that confident. So yeah, true warriors embraces the whole range of emotions. They're not cynical or numb or dead. Oh my gosh, I guess this will be my last thing. But a true warrior also never compromises for anyone in terms of their truth and their values. A true warrior doesn't lay down their sword and give up the fight just because someone doesn't want them to fight. Like, a true warrior doesn't give up their ideas and values about certain topics just because someone else doesn't agree with them. That could go into politics and all sorts of things. Religion. Just because, for example, like, say you have a loved one that you want to keep in your life and you really appreciate them, but they have completely different views on what God is and what God means in that definition. Well, every time you're around them, if you kind of like sidestep around it and like kind of give like an answer like, oh yeah, I believe in God too. I believe that there's one huge strong force. Like, if you're kind of tiptoeing around saying, like, oh hey, yeah, I believe in one strong force that governs everything, like the fifth element of spirit, instead of just saying, yeah, I believe in one force, like one God. I mean, that's kind of lying by default. But a true warrior doesn't compromise their beliefs, or doesn't even, and doesn't flat out lie about them, if just to avoid making someone uncomfortable. A true warrior doesn't do that. Okay, you guys, I am cutting myself off because this video has gotten really long, and I'll just keep going. Because I think it's incredibly important to stick up for yourself, to know your strengths and weaknesses, like my ability to speak. And I'll just keep talking about it for forever. So, cut myself off. There's so much more I could say about this topic. I'm sure it will unfold in further videos. And I hope you stick around to watch those. But please, comment down below on if maybe you consider yourself to be a warrior, or what struggles in your life that you've learned from, you know, and et cetera, et cetera. Let's have a conversation, you guys, because that's what this is about. And let's grow and learn from each other. What is that? But yes, I'm cutting myself off. I hope you enjoyed this video. Also, I just want to say thank you, like, seriously, thank you, from my heart center. I mean, seriously, for all of the people who have been liking and commenting on my videos and talking to me. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. My channel is very, very new, and I've never done anything like this. But you guys have been so inviting, so welcoming, so encouraging, and it's really great, you guys. Like this, just being able to do this has made me so much happier in my life already. Seriously. And take that as sad if you want. But it has given me so much to look forward to every day. And it has really brought me a sense of community and a huge chunk of happiness. It really has. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you. Okay, bye you guys.